Hi all, welcome to this behavior break. My name is Shayna Bailey and I'm a behavior support specialist. One critical component to promoting appropriate student behavior in the classroom is to provide praise and reinforcement for positive student behaviors. Implementing group contingencies in the classroom is one way to accomplish this. During this behavior break, we're going to discuss group contingencies in general and then spend more time talking about one specific type of group contingency, the hero procedure. Group contingency involves the teacher establishing one or more behavior expectations and then delivering a pre-planned consequence, usually a reward in the form of a preferred item, activity, or privilege to either the whole class, some students, or one student, depending on the performance or meeting the behavior expectation of the whole class, some students, or one student. As you can tell from the graphic, there are lots of different ways that you could arrange a group contingency. You could set up a system where all students in the class earn the reward only if all students in the class meet the behavior expectation. Or you could set up a system where individual students who meet the expectation individually earn the reward. Various types of group contingency arrangements have been effective in increasing academic performance and other positive behaviors, as well as decreasing problem behaviors for whole classes of students, smaller groups of students, and individual students within the classroom. There are 5 basic steps to implementing a group contingency. The first step is to choose an effective reward. It's often beneficial to create a reward list or a list of options that students can choose from, as students' preference may shift or different students may prefer different types of activities or privileges. It's also important to solicit student input as you create your reinforcer list and periodically update the reinforcer list as time goes on. Step 2 of implementing a group contingency is to determine the behaviors to be changed. You'll define expected behaviors for students in observable terms. You want to make sure to describe exactly what it is you expect students to do. You may choose to focus on classroom rules that have already been established or other positive behaviors that you would like to see increase in the classroom, such as providing compliments to peers. When it's appropriate, you may solicit input from your students to let them help you establish what behaviors need to be changed in the classroom. Third, you will determine appropriate performance criteria. In other words, you will decide what students must do to earn the reward. It is important to consider your students' current level of performance when you're establishing criteria for earning the reward. Let's say that you want to increase on-task behavior. Your students are currently on task about 40% of the time. You know ultimately you want them to be on task about 80% of the time or 85% of the time. Rather than setting that initial goal at 80 or 85%, you're going to want to set that initial goal closer to where the students are currently performing, let's say 50% of on-task behavior. That would be a 10% increase. And then over time, as your students consistently show progress, you're able to increase your expectation so that you move closer and closer to that ultimate 80 or 85% on task that you're looking for. For step 4, you will determine the most appropriate type of group contingency for your setting and students. The last step is to monitor performance of individuals and the whole group as you implement the group contingency. You want to take data on the occurrence of the expected behaviors that are being targeted by your group contingency, as well as other relevant behaviors such as academic performance or positive or negative peer interactions. Step 4 of implementing a group contingency focused on selecting the appropriate type of group contingency. We'll spend the rest of this behavior break discussing one type of group contingency that you might select, the hero procedure. With the hero procedure, a behavior expectation is established for either one student or a small group of selected students. If that student or group of students meets the behavior expectation, then the entire class receives the planned reward. That makes the selected student or small group of students the class hero who earned the reward for the entire class. For example, let's assume that the teacher wants to increase on-task behavior during small group activities. Specifically, she wants to increase discussion of relevant topics. She divides the class into 5 small groups for the activity and then randomly selects one group to monitor. That selected group was Group 3, Joe, Annie, and Sam. If Joe, Annie, and Sam meet the behavior expectation of discussing relevant topics, then the entire class will receive the reward of 5 minutes to chat with peers about topics of their choice. If anyone within Group 3, Annie, Joe, or Sam, do not meet that behavior expectation, then no one in the class will receive the planned reward. This is an example of use of the hero procedure. Let's talk about when you might use the hero procedure. The hero procedure has been shown effective in changing the behavior of a whole class, a small group of students within the class, or an individual student in the classroom. So this procedure can be implemented at any one of those levels. Also, the hero procedure is particularly useful when students value peer attention and approval. Also, if you have students in the classroom who may try to sabotage your system, engaging in problem behavior or failing to meet behavior expectations so that other students don't earn the planned reward, the hero procedure may be useful because that student would only be able to sabotage the system on days that they're randomly selected as the potential hero. Also, if you have students in your class who are experiencing social isolation, the hero procedure may be useful because it will encourage other students in the class to remind or encourage or help that student meet behavior expectations, and it will also gain that student some peer attention when they have an opportunity to be a hero and earn the reward for the class. So if any of these things are true, the hero procedure might be a good fit for use in your classroom. Let's take a look at how the hero procedure might be described to students in your class. Today, your teacher will introduce the class hero system. This system gives individual students the chance to be the class hero who engages in positive behaviors to earn rewards for the whole class. First, your teacher will talk to your class about the positive behaviors your class will be working on. In this example, the teacher wants the class to work on appropriate behaviors in the class line. He reviews 3 specific behaviors that he expects the class hero to show when in line: facing the front, keeping a quiet voice, and holding their arms at their sides. Next, your teacher will ask you to help come up with several rewards your class would like to earn. In this example, students came up with a hand stamp for each student, time for the class to draw, and the teacher reading a story aloud to the class. The teacher will determine a way for one reward to be selected from the class list when a reward is earned. Here, the teacher writes down each reward option and places it in an envelope labeled Class Rewards. When a reward is earned, the reward is selected by drawing a piece of paper from the envelope. When your teacher is ready to implement the system, he will tell you that a student has been chosen and remind you of what behaviors the student needs to show to be a class hero. The teacher will not tell your class who was selected. Here, the teacher draws a student name from the bowl. He says, "I have drawn a name. I will be looking for facing front, hands by sides, and a quiet voice as you walk to the gym." Your teacher will watch to see if the selected student shows the positive behaviors that a class hero is expected to show. Here, the teacher watches the students walk to the gym. He is looking to see if the selected student has hands by their sides, a quiet voice, and is facing the front. At the end of the school day or at another time chosen by your teacher will announce to the class if the selected student is a class hero. To be a class hero, the selected student must have shown the positive behaviors that your teacher was looking for. If the selected student is a class hero, your teacher will announce the student's name to the class. Here, the teacher announces that Lisa is the class hero for the day because she kept her arms at her sides, kept a quiet voice, and faced the front of the line throughout the school day. Your teacher will ask the class hero to select a reward for the class. The teacher asks Lisa to come and draw a reward for the class from the class rewards envelope. Your teacher will give the selected reward to your whole class. Here, Lisa selects 10 minutes of drawing time from the envelope, and the teacher allows all students to go and get their supplies to begin drawing. If the selected student does not show the positive behaviors your teacher is looking for from a class hero, then your teacher will announce that there is no class hero this time. Your teacher will remind you of the behaviors expected of a class hero and encourage all students to try again next time. Your teacher will not announce the name of the selected student. Here, the teacher announces that there was no class hero today, returns the paper with the student's name to the bowl, and tells students that they can try again tomorrow. This is the class hero system. There are several advantages to use of the hero procedure. This type of arrangement has been shown to increase students' academic and behavioral performance. This type of arrangement has also been shown to increase positive interactions between peers, such as having some peers remind or show or help or encourage other peers to meet behavior expectations. Also, this type of procedure saves time and is sometimes easier to implement in the classroom because behavior data doesn't need to be collected for each individual student's behavior, and class rewards are delivered either to the entire class or none of the class, rather than having to try to manage delivering the reward to some students but not to other students. So these are some of the advantages to use of the hero procedure. I want to end our discussion of the hero procedure by describing a few cautions for your consideration. First, any group contingency that you implement, including the hero procedure, should target behaviors that your students already know how to demonstrate. If you try to target behaviors that your students don't already know how to engage in, you're effectively asking them to do something you know they don't know how to do. This would be like giving an exam to a student on a skill that was new or that had just been introduced. Secondly, even though this system has been shown to increase positive interactions among peers, it can also sometimes result in negative peer interactions, such as a peer threatening or trying to punish a peer who doesn't meet behavior expectations. So if you're using this type of group contingency arrangement, you want to make sure that you monitor for those kinds of negative peer interactions and address them if they occur. Lastly, if you notice that these negative peer interactions are occurring, or you just notice that your students are not really helping or showing or encouraging or reminding their peers to meet behavior expectations, it may be because those positive peer interactions are skills that your students don't have. So you may want to introduce some lessons to help teach your students how to engage in those positive peer interactions. And that will not only build new skills for your students, but help your hero procedure to be more effective in the classroom. Thank you for watching this behavior break. I hope you'll be able to incorporate use of the hero procedure into your classroom. If you're interested in learning more about group contingencies or other types of group contingencies that you might implement in the classroom, visit our behavior support specialist website, arbss.org, and go to courses. In the Essential Classroom Behavior Management course, there's a section on group contingencies with examples of other types of systems that might fit well within your classroom. Thank you.